Hi, Saen Higgins here. In this video, we're going to talk about how to create a trust for my family. It is so important that you have a trust designed for you and your family's unique situation. And trust me, everybody's got a unique situation. We're going to cover all of those in this video. Ever wondered the proper way to pass assets on to other family members? Ever wondered how you can avoid lawsuit or protect your family in case something happens? We're in a litigious society. In this video, we're going to step by step go through exactly the structure of a trust. Now, it's important that you pick the right one, and in this video, you'll know exactly which one to do. And as the architecture for your family's financial destiny, it's important that you understand that. Don't ever trust anybody else to do it and assume they know what they're doing. You need to know that they know what they're doing. And in this video, you'll know exactly that. So again, before you do a trust, before you do any of that, like, thumbs up, put the little comments inside there, and we'll go from there. Now, let me tell you something. Let's talk about a trust, okay? What is a trust exactly? There's so many different versions out there of how you should set up your family's asset and asset protection and what have you, and there are professionals all over the place. But what I want to do is kind of get you above. I want you to get you like a 25,000 foot view, if you will. So there's the number one reason that somebody is going to open a trust is to avoid probate. What does that mean? That means if you were to die, what's going to happen to your assets? And I know everybody watching this video has seen it before in their family, a friend, or heard about somebody that's passed that had assets and it was a complete train wreck all the way through. I mean, the reason it shouldn't be is because it needs to be in a trust, okay? So the way it's structured is going to depend on your family's unique situation. We're going to cover a lot of different aspects of it, and not one way is good for everybody, but there are some general rules you need to look at. First of all, you need to have your corporate structure set up. Either S corporation goes up on top, then you've got your trust that go down into your LLCs. Okay, you got income over here, you've got, and then just assets that you're selling over on one side. Those are the LLCs, but we're talking about trust. Should it be a revocable or an irrevocable trust will be between you and your legal team on that. But this is what you're looking at. When I have a trust set up correctly, all of my assets are going to be inside there. So if something were to happen, think of it like this. Think of it like a direction. Oh, I know. Mom's got the secret salsa. She has made this salsa every single year and everybody just loves this salsa and man, it's fantastic. And she's getting older and she says, listen, honey, I need you to understand how this is made. I don't want this recipe to die with me. So she sits there and goes over step by step through the whole process on exactly how she makes that particular salsa. And now you've got it baked in there and the legacy can go on. Okay, literally, you're doing that. And that's so important to understand. There's a great saying out there that somebody says, well, why do you cut the ends off your roast? And the lady says, I don't know, let me ask my mom. So she asked her mom, why do you cut the ends off the roast? And she goes, I don't know, let's ask grandma. So she asked her grandma, why do you cut the ends off the roast? And she said, because the pan I had when we first got married, it wasn't big enough to fit a full roast, so we always had to cut the ends off. So again, they just did it because they thought they were supposed to do it, not because they needed to do it. So it was just out of habit. With a trust, I want you to think about this. Let's say we've got retirement, we've got houses, rental, Airbnb, we've got a vacation timeshare, we've got gold, we've got all of these things. And God forbid, but you get hit by a bus or a plane crash or you die unexpectedly. Okay, what do they do with all that stuff? What a trust does is explains in great detail what every single asset is supposed to do upon your demise. Okay, in other words, this goes over here, this goes over here. We've all seen the movies where they go in to read the will. It's not really a will and last testament. Okay, it's really a trust. They're saying, this is exactly what we're gonna do. And let me tell you something. If you don't have a properly set up trust and it's funded, and we'll get to there in a minute, okay, guess who's gonna decide that? The courts. Yeah, Somebody that doesn't know who you are, doesn't know what's going on. No, you need to be specific. And if you've gone down that road where you're divorced and you've got kids, this is even more important, because what's going to happen, especially if you've got kids under the age of 18 and you've got let's just say a difficult spouse or ex-spouse or what have you, a partner, or you've got a new marriage, a blended family on that, you want to make sure that everything is very clear. It'll solve a lot of problems. I've got a very large family, and I've seen this go down. As much as we love each other, it even caused problems, even though it was spelled out pretty clearly. So you need to do this. So think of it like this. Think of it like a recipe. Okay, what a trust does is gives the recipe to your secret rub, your secret sauce, your barbecue. And so you want to be able to speak to it if something were to happen to you. So that's how detailed it needs to be. This particular piece of property goes over here. My beneficiary of my retirement account is this particular person, even though that's in your trust documents in the retirement. Because, think about this. Now that we're talking about trust, a 401k is a trust document that spells out what would happen if you were to pass. You've got a beneficiary. So every single one of your properties, I don't care how big or small it is. Cars, if you're like me, you don't like debt. So I don't have debt on my cars and other items like that. So if you've got 10 houses, I want you to think about this, that are owned, free and clear, and you got income coming, and something happens to you, what happens? What happens to all that income? Who are they going to? You don't want any ambiguity, so it needs to be spelled out correctly. So on a higher level, the way it works is, and again, I want you to talk to your tax professional along with an asset protection attorney on this. The way it typically would be set up is you've got your S corporation, so you can spin off some W-2 income that can fund your retirement account. Then that income goes down into your trust. It's owned by the trust, the S corporation is inside the trust, and underneath that is all your LLCs. Over here, I've got my income LLCs with my rental properties and the properties that I'm going to flip over here. Now, again, so let's go back to your retirement account. Your retirement account is literally outside of that. Why? Because it's a trust already. You cannot penetrate a retirement account for any reasons except for fraud on that. So once the directions are set up inside your trust, be it irrevocable or revocable, that's between you and your legal department, it's set. It's in stone. Nobody can test it. So if you decide that you want to give everything to the neighbor kid down the street because he mowed your lawn every day and you appreciate everything he's done, guess what? Nobody's going to be able to stop you, okay? If you decide that you want these kids to have this and these kids to have this, let's say that you have a substantial estate. One of the things I always caution people on, when you pass, you don't want to automatically have that money or that asset be given to somebody that maybe isn't responsible enough to handle it, age-wise, or even, we talked about financial literacy in other videos. They don't have that capacity. So you can literally, in that trust document, say, these are my trustee. I've got one, okay? He's my CFO. So everything goes to there. He makes those decisions, and he makes all of those decisions until those kids are at an age that they can handle this and they have to show competence. There is nothing worse than giving a 20-year-old hundreds of thousands of dollars that has no financial literacy. It's the quickest way to a tragedy on that. So this is a very serious video that you need to take a lot of time to consider when you're going on. And you think, well, this is a little early to do this. When do you set this up? Before you need it. So it's automatic. I know for a fact that when I'm doing a property, we know where that property is going, what's going into that, what LLC it's going into, and I know if something were to happen to me, God forbid, okay, that LLC knows exactly where it's going to and who's taking advantage of the profits on the backside of this. And again, be careful. I'm just going to give it to this or I'm going to give it to that. Be specific. If it were to happen today, what would that person do with the money? And if they're not old enough to handle that, you can set it out until they become 30 years old. They're not allowed to touch this money. Until they're 35, until they're 25, whatever that, or they must complete and get grades in this particular university. Literally, you can tell what it needs to be done before that happens. And I don't want you to take this lightly. This is very serious. Passing on a financial legacy is a big responsibility, so take it seriously. I've seen more damage done by giving people stuff than having them meet certain criteria to make it happen. You never know what's going to happen. I know you've got the best kids in the world, but if something were to happen and all of a sudden they dumped a bunch of money, you know, I see these NBA players and NFL players that get these multi-million-dollar contracts. I've talked with some of the player relations, some of these ex-NBA players out there that actually segue these kids into the NBA, and they said, you know how hard it is to work with a 22-year-old that just got a $15 million contract, and every week they're getting $50,000 checks. They have no clue what to do with this money. And thank goodness I didn't have that kind of money at that age, because I probably wouldn't have made it. I'd be one of those Kurt Cobain type of situations where you don't know what's going on. So be pragmatic about this. Take a step back, understand what the whole thought process on. Watch as many videos as you need so you have financial literacy in this whole process, and you'll set up the right trust and take care of your family. The best way to do that, the absolute best way to do that, is click the link below, because I've got a brand new course on this right now. It's free to you. It'll walk you through the whole process. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. This is Saen Higgins saying God bless and good luck.